Welcome to More Gospel Magazine TV with your host, DeShawn Moore. Join me as we bring you the latest happenings in the gospel music industry. From music to news to entertainment, it's all on More Gospel Magazine TV.
Come on, love.
Hello, I'm DeShawn Moore, and welcome to MGM TV. Today, Pastor Carlton Lych sat down with me and gave me an exclusive interview about his ordeal.
You're so blessed, Lady DeShawn, because I never told this, before.
Join me now for a More Gospel Magazine exclusive.
On the scene with More Gospel Magazine.
Welcome to the DeShawn Moore Show. I'm your host, DeShawn Moore. Today we have an exclusive interview with none other than Pastor Carlton Lych. We're going to get right into it. How are you doing today, Pastor Lynch?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I just got done texting and Facebook and that I'm meeting with DeShawn Moore. They already tweeted me back and so forth. You're a celebrity.
You are so kind. You are so kind. Thank you so much. You're inspirational, controversial,
yeah,
but you don't mind being controversial.
Love it.
Let's delve right into it, Pastor Lynch. Tell me what you're doing. And first of all, how did you come to this point in your life? Let's just start with that.
I think, honestly, what caused me to get to this point now is pain. I think some of the things that have caused me to be hurt in life has drove me to this point. There was a time that I wanted to run away from ministry. I wanted to just throw it all away and say, forget it. I'm pretty intelligent. I'll go back to school, go get another different job in marketing. I love those type of things, PR. But God seemed like the more I ran, the more He chases after me and always pulled me back into ministry. So ministry is really all I know.
Tell me, when were you first called?
I was first called in Richmond, Indiana. When I was 15, I got sent to a boys' school in Richmond, Indiana called Warrenley Children's Home. And Pastor Cody Brooks out of Chicago, Illinois, who just came to our city. He lived on top of a roof of a motel. Now he's walking across America. A lot of people don't know his first church was in Richmond. And while I was in that boys' school, downstairs, down the hill, was the boys' school, and on top of the hill was his church. And so I always went on top of the hill to hear him preach, and I felt God's calling on my life. So I'm 32 years old now. I've been preaching since I was 15.
Wow. At the age of 15, did you understand the calling? Did you really understand that?
Not really. I don't think I understood it, but I knew God for some reason. Even when I was a young kid in Fort Wayne growing up, I would steal cars, but I always would take a stolen car to church. So I always just sensed God's hand, on my life through everything, I've been through, and I had some great pastors that was with me. The late Dr. J.W. Bledsoe at St. John Baptist Church. He never would miss a court date when I was, a young boy, growing up. So, I didn't understand it, but I knew his hand was on my life.
Yeah. Now, to this point,
yeah.
And you talked just a little bit about some of the things you've been through as a young child when you were called. What are you doing now, and what has changed from when you were younger? What are you doing now with that, with the change?
Well, I think one thing that I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to connect my past with my future.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to shy away from their past, and act as though it doesn't exist. But Philippians 1:12 said that the things that have happened to you have rather turned out for the furtherance of the gospel. So your past really was there to set you up for your future. And so one thing I'm doing now, I thought that I was going to be the type of preacher that I was going to do the conventions, I was going to do the major church, three-piece suits. But for some strange reason, God has called me to the streets. He's called me to reach the hard to reach. And so forth. So I spent a lot of time, here in Fort Wayne and Eden Green, different low-income apartments, dealing with a lot of kids and young people that's in gangs and so forth. Our city has a murder problem that's going on in our city. I've been explaining to so many people you can't blame prosecutors, you can't blame judges, you can't blame the police. So I've been preaching a message that it takes parents, principals, and pastors to change the lives of our kids. And so that's one thing that I'm doing right now at this point, really trying to work the streets of Fort Wayne and give our kids another alternative.
Let's talk about the present right now. We know that there were some things that you encountered with your church, and
that's controversial.
That's controversial. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Well, you know, I pastored 2 churches. One, Zion Bethel Baptist Church on Cord Street here in Fort Wayne, right across from Weiser Park. It was my first church. You know, the people were nice. You know, I had issues, but one thing I loved about the people, you know, they allowed me to make mistakes. You know, as a pastor, because I really didn't know. But I was honored to have an invitation by Pastor Anthony Payton to come and to become a staff member at his church. So I went there. We done some great things together and so forth. And the Lord, He really put into me vision. He showed me, you know, who I really was in the kingdom. But later on, I connected with Pastor Anthony Pettis, you know, a great pastor, great preacher. But then later on, Providence Baptist Church called me as their pastor. But the unique thing about Providence that a lot of people don't know, and you know what, you're so blessed, Lady DeShawn, because I never told this, you know, before, how I really got to the church. How I really got there, it was on a Friday. I went to a court hearing that morning about my daughter, your baby, Mackenzie. I was trying to fight for custody. Her mother moved to Wisconsin, and it was just a typical, you know, fight for custody. I want her, she want her, so forth. But the judge, you know, for whatever reason, no type of reasoning, he sent her to be with her mother, and I honor that decision. She's not on drugs. She doesn't have my child in an unsafe environment, but she was so connected to me. She was just important to me, to my life, and already divorced, you know. So I'm dealing with a loneliness, you know, and psychiatrists call this type of loneliness, they call it cosmic loneliness, when you can be around a whole lot of people and you're still lonely. And so that's the state that I was in at that time. But the judge said, listen, you have till 5 o'clock to get your daughter and get her to the mom at Greater Progressive was the meeting point. But then he changed it and said, no, I want you to meet at the police station. I want you to transfer there. So there's no problems and so forth for all of our safety. So we're at the police station. Anthony Pettis, Pastor Pettis, he's with me. And I look at this church across the street from the police station. It's Providence Baptist Church on the corner. And I say to God, because I was on my way to preach there within the next 2 weeks, it was on my schedule. And I asked God, I said, God, if I give my baby up, I want you to bless me. I need you to give me something else. I need to be a part of something. Something's walking out on me, so I need you to send something to me. And it was just in the place where I wanted to minister. It's the apartment complex, the police station, the Y. It was just all right there. I said, God, bless me with it. It wasn't a good 30 days where I got the invitation and the call to become their pastor. So that's how I got to Providence. Now, a lot of stuff happened since I've been at Providence. And so, you know, I'll let you take it from there, because this may sell if you ask the right questions.
Let's just get right into it. What happened, Pastor?
Well, it was already a disgruntled church, you know, from the past. It had a lot of issues. It was a church that was governed more from bylaws than the Bible. And I was a young pastor that came in with some 30 members that was there when I got there, but the Lord shifted it, you know, within 90 days. You know, we're taking in members, you know, and so forth throughout the community, and they didn't like growth. They had a problem because, you know, anytime someone joins the church, we would think that's another person in the kingdom. They would think, whose side are they on, because that's another person that can vote, and never wanted to, you know, lose their votes, which would lose control, you know, over the church. And so we done great things while we were there. We passed out over 900 Bibles, you know, in our area. We done gas giveaways. You know, I'm big on outreach. You know, they really wasn't. So we had a conflict. We began to clash. The Lord sent great people to the ministry. The NAACP president, Paulette Nelson, she joined our church. Wendy Davis, the judge, they've been there on different occasions. Tom Henry, Rusty, they all have come to our church to sow seeds in some of the visions that the Lord has given us. But on 2 different occasions while I was there, they called for church meetings, deacons and trustees to dismiss me. On both occasions, I wanted to vote to remain as the pastor.
Now, what were their reasons?
Well, honestly, the first time was back in March. In February, I did a series entitled "Can a Brother Get a Dime?" Talking about tithing. And the choir said they didn't want to hear it. So they weren't singing the whole month of February, but they would come and sing in March. So March came, I told them, you know what, don't even worry about singing. We don't pick and choose when we sing, when we minister. We do it, every week. And since I set the choir down, that brought on a first meeting. The second meeting just came because a new trustee board was voted in, and it was a whole family that was against me. And that second meeting, that's when I won the second one. Then it went to a restraining order to stay away from the church and so forth. Now, I know what a lot of people would think, Sean. A lot of people would say, because one thing my mother taught me well is your reputation will precede you. And I'm real open, transparent about my past. And some people looking from the outside, if you're not in, you won't really know what transpired. When people have Facebook, when people have Twitter, when people are talking about in barbershops, in beauty shops, it used to bother me. There was a time when people used to speak, ill things about me. It would make me sick, and I would stay in the house. There was a season where I didn't leave my house for 3 weeks because I was afraid to go to Walmart. I would sneak to Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning when no one would be there because I didn't want to face people. But you can tell through this season now, I'm still moving. I'm still shaking, because once you really know the truth about a situation, God has set me free from what people think. And if somebody really want to know, the exclusive, what really transpired, I'm open just like I am with you. You can ask me anything, the good, bad, and the ugly. Yes, there's some things that will give people a red flag about Carlton Lynch. I've done some things. I've been involved in some things. I've chased women. I've chased liquor. I've been in the strip club and all of that. But the message that I'm trying to bring forth now is that God can change you. He changed Paul. He changed David. He changed Jacob. And my thing is, how are we to read this Bible and we believe the transparency and the change that God can do from a biblical standpoint, but we don't believe it from a life standpoint with people that we know?
Yeah, very interesting. Now, I understand your side of the story. Mm-hmm. What do you do when people feel like, well, a pastor may have done this and that, but it's not stopping? How would you answer that if someone's saying, oh, well, we forgive Pastor Lynch, but he ain't stopped? So, okay. how do you, I'm not saying you haven't stopped. I'm just saying that's how sometimes people perceive someone if they've been transparent, and they're just wondering, well, did he ask for forgiveness? Is he going to stop doing A, B, and C if you did A, B, and C?
Right.
So,
well, I think, boy, you're getting me good, though. Those are some good questions. I think the way I would answer it is this. My mother always told me, the bed you make, you got to lie in it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think sometimes trying to convince people, you'll be convincing people for years, mm-hmm. For decades, mm-hmm. for centuries, that you're not the same person. Mm-hmm. I believe in lifestyle evangelism. Sometimes it ain't what you say, it's about what you do. Mm-hmm. And my goal is right now, there's some close people in my life that I really look at. You being one of them, your husband, I believe that has spoken in my life and really believe in you. People that never believed in you probably will never change. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. I can't worry about, 50 people. If I get one and say, listen, they believe in me, so forth, and they standing with me, praying for me, that's the one I'm going to chase. I can't chase the whole city.
Mm-hmm. With the entire city knowing, you watch the news and the media, what makes you want to pastor or do ministry here in Fort Wayne? Why stay in Fort Wayne? After all this, why stay?
Well, I think, honestly, and I'm not taking away from any church, I'm not taking away from any pastor. Fort Wayne has some great pastors, in Fort Wayne, some gifted pastors, some anointed men of God and women. I think what causes me to stay for the generation and for the people that I'm trying to reach, I don't really see a certain church. That's from me, my point of view, that's really going after that hard to reach. And I believe God is still giving me a voice. He's still giving me words for this young generation that's confused, that's hurt, that has church hurt. Most of Fort Wayne, no matter who you are, you've been associated or acquainted with some type of church, but a lot of people have shied away. And so those type of things we have to just ask why, and so forth. So I believe God's still giving me a mandate for this city.
Let's talk about that mandate. You have something new that God is giving you. Let's talk about that.
Well, the second Sunday of September, we're looking to plant and to organize and to launch the New Beginnings Church of Fort Wayne. We're going to meet in the Boys and Girls Club on the second Sunday there on Fairfield Street. We've been doing some incredible things these last 4 and 5 months. One thing that we've done that has, God has really shined a light on is that I was spending a lot of time going back and forth with lawyers and the judge and the courts trying to get back into Providence. And the Holy Ghost, really, I have a legal termination, but the Lord told me to let it all go. My lawyer is saved. He's a child of God. And I let him know that, it's all over. God got something new. He got something fresh, for me. Because ministry is not a building. Ministry is people. And I think so many times you got preachers and pastors fighting over buildings, rather than the ministry. And if the building has stopped you from ministry, then the question I have to raise, is it real ministry? And so forth. So we're going to meet there. And the Lord has compelled me to go after, people that's been rejected in a real sense. I'm the only pastor, that spends his time going after people that's gifted but not in church. Because some people feel like because their flaws and their failures are on, I told the church this a few days ago. I know what favor is now. Favor to me is when your failures are on public display, but God keeps blessing you. I went after the Mickey Whites, the ones that hers was on TV. Everybody know about it. Drugs, boyfriend, husband, all that type of stuff. Everybody's watching her hand. But she came from church. She's one of us, and the only difference is hers hit the news, So who am I to stop her husband who doesn't fool with church at all? The only thing that he has to say is, man, this guy is the only one that came and just sat in my fireworks store for an hour and a half to talk to me. Everybody else shied. He's called pastors, no return. And it seemed to me that we got so many churches and so many pastors that only want to be connected to success. Well, my ministry is, let me connect to failure. I believe this. If you go after the people that nobody wants, God will send you the people that everybody wants.
If you can describe your life in one word, what would it be and why?
Favorite. Should have been dead, should have been off the scene. Just through the Providence, story, and what's transpired, with that whole, altercation. God, I just left rushing here. I just met with Pastor Bell from True Love at the church. We were just talking about just the places that I've been, since all of this. I've been with Jamal Bryant. I've been with these different ministries, preached for, just this weekend, preached over 10,000 people, and so forth. God has still favored me. And I still believe there's a generation that's looking for me. And I believe I have to stay because we got to remind the devil that the dreamers are still coming. I'm not about to stop. I'm not about to commit suicide. I ain't about to go back selling drugs. I'm not getting ready to go back to the street corner. I'm getting ready to stay in the Lord's business because I believe that the mantle and the anointing is still on my life. And this is one thing I do know, and I want the whole Fort Wayne to know it before I die. They're going to know I was doing it.
On the scene with More Gospel Magazine.
There you have it, a More Gospel Magazine exclusive interview with Pastor Carlton Lych. Thank you for joining More Gospel Magazine TV, and we hope to see you soon. God bless.
On the scene with more Gospel Magazine.
More Gospel Magazine is working hard to bring you the latest in news, music, and motivation.
It's inspirational. It's More Gospel Magazine.
Plus articles on health, sports, fashion, relationships, and much more. More Gospel Magazine features local and national gospel entertainers.
More Gospel Magazine has it all.
More news, more entertainment, more ministry.
Get your copy.
It's all in More Gospel Magazine. Get your subscription today.